is taken out of, under our capital outlay of buildings. That was a special, amount of money that the Building and Parks Committee had given us last year in our budget for doing some things here. And the money that was taken out of there, my understanding is that was taken out, to do the bid specs for our roof. Because that was not a PO that I put out, and so when I checked with Joe Don, that was the money that was taken out for that. So that's what that $1,400 out of that account, because we here at the library have been trying not to, touch that money at this point.
So who does actually write up the bid specs? The engineer?
We have an engineering firm that will write up the bid specs, and then we, of course, we publish them locally and then also statewide.
There's hoops you have to jump through.
Well, because I don't think that anybody now would bid a project and the engineer had not written up the specs. I think that's just kind of something that's...
Is that the same engineering firm the city uses for everything?
Well, we had been kind of told that with this building.
Yeah,
with other stuff.
we primarily use Myers Engineering. We do use other engineering firms for other projects. So.
Myers did this one?
I do not know.
Okay. Because it hinges on the bid specs.
I think
The project will be as good as the specs are.
I think Myers is who came. They did send a couple of engineers at different times out.
They did?
To look at the building, look at the crawl space, because we didn't really have the plans that you would assume that we would have had as far as structural wise with the building.
Okay, thank you.
So, are there any questions as far as things that maybe we're kind of, like I said, we're now in the point where we will be reevaluating like our supplies and things like that of getting things ordered that we need for summer reading program and that type of thing, because we have to get those things for this year's program, even though it goes into July. We get all that taken out of this year's budget. So that's what we'll be doing in the next couple of months, is looking at those purchases that we need to make ahead, those POs we need to make ahead to cover what we have.
You wouldn't get them in if you waited until that way.
Right. So, and it's also, once again, our budget is kind of different than some other budgets probably, in that we have to spend, we can only turn, as far as the State Department of Library goes, they only want us turning, if they see us turning back to the city more than 7% of our budget that's used for our different things, they will cut my state aid funds, because they're saying, well, you don't need the money if you're turning it back. Now, I write letters and will explain the differences, like with that building fund, that was a special one-time allocation. Also, anything that is left up in the personal services, I will write and explain that extra money has been put in for salaries to cover different things or whatever else. So, that those two things do not factor in, but my materials and my supplies and other services and charges, I try to use that money wisely, but try to get it spent for things we need, so I won't endanger that money we get from the state.
Okay. Did we under budget for utilities, or is this a normally high year in utilities?
Utilities we are usually kind of under budgeted for, but I think also what happened this year is, even though we didn't have some really super cold type of things, we had some issues with our heating and air conditioning units. And they just had to come put like a new motherboard on the one that was on the roof. And it had to, what happened, and like a short today, it's interesting, the whole connector thing has been charred and burned. And when it did, it made the unit run all the time. And so, and it took them a while to get there to fix it after we called them, and they realized that's what the problem was. So I think we expended some energy there. I told them that they needed to get here. But usually the utilities is something that's just, I think, really hard to maintain here, but probably if more money could be budgeted for that, we can do it.
That's one where we frequently rob Peter to pay Paul.
It is, and it's a hard thing also in that I'm not sure how, and Joe Don would know that, we are considered a cool zone during the summer, so we get some money back from OG&E for doing that service, and they apply that onto our utility bill. And so I don't know if that's already been applied on here, or if that's something that just goes to the city, and then, you know, at the end, how that budgeting, how that plays into it.
It's a good thing that whatever that was all charred didn't actually catch fire.
Yes.
Okay, and the rest of the
Okay,
statistical reports?
and our statistical report here for, pretty much, we didn't really have any surprises in what we were seeing there. We still do, provide a lot of meeting space that isn't listed as meetings, as far as we have a lot more individual people coming in, and we have a lot more people that are doing tutoring, and there's really not a way for us to track that, but it has been lately that probably, I would say, 3 out of the 5 weekday days that this meeting, this year conference is being used for something or other. Meetings that are not really scheduled meetings, because this is people coming in and saying, do you have a place that we can use? So we're glad to be providing that type of service. So checkouts are starting to kind of stabilize for us, so we are glad about that. And we have had, it doesn't really show here, it shows a little bit like under our new DVDs, that we've had some people starting to come in and make us more donations on those type of items, so that's always nice.
Cool. And I see that the internet and the wireless users, is that just because we're getting is that because we're getting a better count, or is that because they're actually up?
I think that it is basically, part of it is that it is up. But it's also the fact that how they track that system, the company that does that, had a glitch kind of in December and January that they were figuring out, and they kind of have that figured out now. And I'm not sure what their glitch was in reporting, but
because it had been better than that, and then
right.
it dropped way off.
Right. So
I was assuming it was holidays and the like, but then you'd think that would be when they would come in.
it depends, and we have there's still a lot of people, and there's really no way to really know, but there's still a lot of people that are not aware that they can have internet access, internet access during, when we're not open. So that makes it a little bit different.
Yes. I don't see the same little guy that we used to see that would sit out here in the pocket park. Yeah, and sit out there on the bench and have his laptop open on his lap. There used to be some guy that was out there all the time in the evenings. Maybe in the warmer weather when the time changes, he'll be back again. And the oil guys, a bunch of them, sometimes you find them sitting outside here.
Right.
Or outside the schools, the middle schools front parking.
And then our fine and copy expense report has remained pretty stable. And like I said, a lot of that money is due to probably more faxes and copies than it is to fines, since people are watching the system and getting the notifications. That's cutting out a lot of fines.
Yay. Okay, so that got the money out of the way? All right. We ready for a city council report?
Well, we had a planning retreat last Saturday. When we were there last week for basically 7 hours to discuss priorities for the upcoming year. Our sales tax revenues are down approximately 30% for the month of February, so we're continuing to see decline. I don't think we've bottomed yet.
Are we back to what we were, say, 5 years ago?
We're basically
Our
at 2014 levels.
Our pre-oil boom era?
Yeah, basically our revenues are such that we're back to those 14 levels. The good thing for us is that we didn't add a lot of it. We didn't add very many employees during the oil boom, so we don't have those ongoing recurring costs. A lot of the increased sales tax revenue that the city received was put into infrastructure projects that we're looking at. So,
Did we ever get any of them actually finished?
well, the transfer station is complete and operating. The Young Street water line project hopefully will be tied in over spring break. We've had a little bit of firms have a little bit of difficulty boring under 64, but that one should be completed within a short amount of time. So yeah, there have been a number of those that have actually been completed. So
We might ought to toot that horn a little bit.
and I won't steal the thunder for on item number 5.
It's okay, you can go ahead and cover that, that's fine.
Yeah, tell us.
The bids are expected to be in on the 14th. We will call a special meeting of the Parks and Building Committee on the 17th during spring break to review those specifications in hopes of being able to recommend a bidder the following Monday City Council meeting and get that project.
Is that the Parks meeting on the 17th, an open meeting? I mean,
Yeah,
observers can watch.
Sure. I mean, we've had people there before, so it's not a closed meeting. So we'll review the specs at that time if we feel comfortable in recommending a contractor on the next Monday for the City Council meeting, and then we'll do so. If not, then we'll delay that and either spend more time reviewing the bids or go to the next project. We have one chance to get it right, and so we're gonna, if we can push it through, we will. But if we need a little bit more time, then we'll take a little bit more time. So, we're a heck of a lot further down the road than we were this time.
Yeah.
So we'll be anxious to see what the bids and the solutions that the various companies will bring us.
Do we know how many will are looking at sending a bid in?
I don't.
How many they picked up? It's all
Yeah.
online, isn't it? Pretty much.
I actually couldn't tell you it is, but we will. We still get a lot of printed packets for bids,
Mm-hmm.
but as I said, they're not scheduled to be due till the 14th.
Okay. All right. Is that it? Anything else fun happening?
When are they gonna finish that road where Sunset Drive goes into Murray Drive?
That one is scheduled to be replaced this summer. One of the things that we did,
Well, it's already tore up and everything.
well, we waited until the water line project was done.
That's right, I figured that.
It is going
It's
to.
looking up, at least have one intersection.
It is going to be a nightmare because those streets are narrow. There is no other access into those areas. So everybody's going to have to move their cars. Everybody's going to have to be inconvenienced for a while we do that. But that is scheduled to be replaced this summer.
They always go down there, and not again, I had to turn around and come back again. The sign is right there that says it's closed.
Okay. You ready to talk about staff computers then?
Yeah. I will go ahead and mention under the library roof update, I know in speaking with Joe Don that he said there'd been a lot of interest. I think that bids really well for us. That there have been, people contacting. We have had people up on the roof. We don't really know who they are. They're not necessarily local, but there has been a lot of interest generated. So that's encouraging.
Slowdown in construction has a lot more construction companies wanting to look for work right now. so that bodes well for us.
Good.
Okay, we are kind of here in the library under the replacement of the staff computers. We try to stay on a schedule of computer replacement. In other words, we don't want to have to be replacing all of our computers in the space of a year or two. So we try to do a rotation basis, which is about a 5-year rotation. And interestingly enough, the computers this year that are 5 years or 6 years old are 2 of our staff computers. And then we have 2 computers that are out on the line. And, excuse me, I'm sorry. So we are looking at replacing our 2 staff computers first, because we're really evaluating on how many computers that we need to have for the public now. We're starting to cut down on that number because more and more people are bringing their devices in. So if we're not having waiting lists on our computers or waiting lines, we may start cutting down on the amount of computers that we have actual physical here in the library. So we are looking at, there's a variety of different computers that we're looking at. We're wanting to make sure we get something that syncs very well with what we have. Because our computers are set up that they run through our servers. We don't have programs loaded on each computer. Those programs are loaded on our server. So we're looking at that and anticipate maybe in the next couple of weeks that we will be determining some computers that we could use for that. So, and the money that we'll be using to replace those staff computers are some state aid funds. We can use it for that. And so we really try to replace our technology so that doesn't come out of our regular budget from the city, that we replace our staff computers with those funding. So that's kind of our update there.
Cool. Ready for chocolate fantasy then?
Okay.
Yay.
They have had to change the date of the chocolate fantasy, and it is now on the 29th of March. That is on a Tuesday. A little bit different day than we've ever tried to do it before, but we didn't really realize when they set up the first date that that was a Thursday before Easter, and so we would have run into some church services.
March 29th.
So March 29th will be the chocolate fantasy. And so we'll be getting some publicity out on that. We're developing flyers, and those will go out at the end of this week into the businesses, and then ads will start appearing in the paper for that. So,
That's always a fun thing.
So, yeah, we hope they make it fun. The Friends work really, really hard. Of course, they met last night and did their final planning, so people do a lot of work for us.
Do they have a special thing that they're going to be doing this time? Or just
I don't think they're going to try to do any entertainment this year, because they have some people that when they try to do entertainment in the past, it takes up time, but also then they kind of feel it's disrespectful to people if you have other people talking. And they've kind of found out that people like to come here and talk, you know, and they like to visit because they see people and everything. And so last year, I think I mentioned last year, we had some people from out of town here, and as the gentleman walked out, he told me it was as good as any comedy show he'd ever paid to go see from wherever he was from. So we decided that our auctioneers are enough comedians that we'll just let them entertain. So, and it is kind of a fun concept that people are not around auctioneers, and especially the fact that auctioneers, this is the one time in the community where it pulls a bunch of them together who are friends, but they are competitors, and this is their time that they can have fun and play off of each other and try to give each other hard times and stuff. So.
And they can kind of showcase their talents too,
Right.
for people who wouldn't ordinarily see them.
That's true.
Cool. All right, OLC.
Okay. Our library conference is coming up at the end of this month, and due to the timing of it, because it starts on the 30th, which is the day after the Chocolate Fantasy, our youth librarian, our assistant director, Mandy Shanehouse, and our administrative assistant, my secretary, Yvonne Reed, is who will be having that conference. Our youth librarian and I have decided that we will be the ones that will stay home this year and keep the library open just because of other things that are going on. So they will be attending that in Tulsa, and we do give them registered for that. And then the conferences that they will go to, they will come back and provide training for the rest of us if there's some programs and things that we could be doing. It's probably one of the most valuable things we do because we actually decide with the professional presenters that come in from all over the U.S., we actually get to talk and visit with other librarians. And it's very different what librarians in urban areas can do depending on what we do here, because we have to be more of a full service. When in the urban areas, they can specialize, and they can have specialized programs or whatever in their different branch libraries. So it's kind of good for us to be able to get together with other libraries of towns about our size. We usually try to work with librarians from about Enid, the size of Enid on down is kind of who we network with. So that's kind of an exciting and fun time for us to see what's going on. So I'm really attending that.
And then the resolution. And it's little tiny print.
The resolution I've kind of mentioned beforehand is just, it's not something you have to sign, it's something that if you would agree to or not agree as a board, the public directors, those of us that get together for meetings, decided that we needed to do something to kind of show support for the Oklahoma Department of Libraries. They are the ones that kind of go to battle for us on the legislative level. They're the one who handle a lot of the funding. They provide training, they provide help for us when I'm getting ready to file like E-rate. My consultant will come and I'll meet with her, and so they provide a lot of support for us. And it's very easy for the legislatures not to really understand what the tax dollars do, especially here in the rural community for us, of the services that they provide. So they decided to draw up a resolution and just ask different libraries with their boards or people in the communities if it was something that they could support. Just kind of being able to say that libraries are important in our community. So I don't know if you guys have been able to look at it, if you agree with it, or if you not agree. All I need to say is I will send to the committee that yes, the library board would support the resolution, or at this time they don't feel comfortable supporting the resolution.
I'm especially fond of that next to the last line down at the bottom where it says that they would maintain its administrative and organizational autonomy. I live in fear, not particular fear, but I'm concerned that when they start, down here at the bottom, next to the last line, when they start, trying to save money, that they'll start consolidating things together and pluck it, stuff it in under some odd umbrella.
They actually have moved this, and I don't know what it is, but they have moved this into a different, as far as under, at the state level. They moved it into a different department.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a little concerned at the point in time of who they have the head of the department right now is very progressive, and he realizes the importance of libraries, so that's gone good. But I know in future years, that's why that sentence went in there, because they are very concerned. Because they put it in more of a unit, and I wish I could remember what it is, I'm sorry I can't. That's more a numbers type of organization instead of under kind of the education where we were before.
Probably put it under almost
It may have been.
management and enterprise services.
Yeah.
Where
And-
good ideas go to die.
Yeah. So they're kind of trying to work with that to show that maybe we need to be switched a little bit different place.
We're not just a warehouse for books.
Well, we're in a big deficit, and they go crazy, and they're panicking, and they're trying to push these things together. I'm a member of the Retired Educators Association. We get these every day, and look what they're trying to do now. In education, that makes you be under the law. I went down there at the law. I don't know where this will end.
Well, how do the rest of you feel about a motion to support?
I'll move to support resolution.
Myself.
Okay, moved and seconded that we support the resolution. Those in favor, David?
I'm sorry.
In support of the resolution.
So we'll do what?
Are you in favor of the resolution?
Oh, the resolution, I think it's a fine resolution, man.
I take it that's a yes.
Yes,
Gotcha.
indeed.
Elaine?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Right, Linda?
It's a
Steve?
softball
Okay,
ball,
me too.
so-
All right.
Thank you very much.
I didn't have my ears on.
Can we have signing ability for David
Yeah, we need a signer.
Thank you very much. I'll need.
First he has to
I'll need that
learn
until
it.
Next year.
That could be a program we offered here at the library.
Yeah, you turn 75 and you go ahead, immediately, you know.
I look forward to that, David. Thank you. Okay, so ready for the scheduling of guest speakers for our April's program.
Okay, we had decided this year that we would try to bring, it used to be that the Friends group did a second Let's Talk About It series in the spring. And actually a 4 or 5 book series was too long for us in the spring with our community because everybody is so involved in the community with the university and the schools and everything else. So we decided to do something a little different this year and try to, between the Friends and us, identify just a couple of special programs that people would maybe be interested in. So the first one we have scheduled is on April the 11th, and that is by Christina Brock Ferris. She is a retired professor from down the Oklahoma City area, and she wrote a book that's called The Nicest Nazi. And she was told one time that she was the nicest Nazi that anybody had ever met. And the person met it as a compliment, and she was very offended by it because she grew up during that time. Her family, she had family members that were Nazis, but it was something that they didn't have a choice with. And so her book was written from her memories of the fact that not only were many people victims, the Jewish people or others, but the people themselves that lived in Germany were victims. And what her life was, and her grandmother ended up taking in a lot of refugees and things like that. So we've heard it's a really, really good program, interesting program. So she will be bringing that, and we do have a copy of the book here if anybody's interested in reading it beforehand, but we understand that it's not a program you would pay for every book. Then also, there's a college professor in the English department. His name is Richmond Adams. And we have contacted him, and he is going to do a program on To Kill a Mockingbird. And he, from what I understand from talking with him, he likes to tie it into the history aspect also, which is very important. People in our community appreciate tying that together. It provides interest. And so he would be a first-time new presenter for us. So we were very excited to maybe identify, we use people in the history department at Northwestern to provide a program for us. But we were very excited to find somebody maybe in the English department that would be willing to do so. And I think there's another English professor that I talked to last night that's interested in doing some things that we may partner with to bring some programs to our high school next year. So we're excited about that.
Is there a date?
It's going to be on April the 28th. That is on a Thursday. Not typically a night when we do programs, but we're kind of opening that up. I'll talk with my staff, and if we don't schedule more than 1 or 2 things that are not on nights we're open, we can probably cut it out. That's our problem. We have to have staff here when we open up those meetings, and so we have to figure out how we can do that since we do comp time, but we don't want to really try to do the comp time if we have to. We'll try to do scheduling.
I wonder if he also would pull in anything from the Go Set a Watchman.
I had asked him about that at the point in time, and just told him that, in my opinion, it would probably be good if he would realize he may get some questions about it. I don't know how much he will pull in about it, but that I was sure that he would get some questions revolving that. But I really like the way he likes American literature, and he likes to tie in everyday life that affected the books, So I think it will be a really interesting program that will appeal to those who like the literature aspect and the history aspect. And I'm very
I found Cosetta Watchman to be a much better read than I expected, given her age when she wrote it.
Right.
It was, you would never know.
So,
Okay.
those are kind of the programming that we have as far as our adult programming. We are still ongoing and doing our children's programming. That's our ongoing programming through, of course, April and the spring. And we're evaluating. We have our summer reading program about set, and we're evaluating whether we will still keep doing what we call our activity day during the summer or not. That's run by our assistant director and our administrative assistant, and every Thursday they do an activity day. So during the summer we may kind of maybe not do that program quite as often, and we'll see how that goes.
So they may be doing more activities at the swimming pool for the kids.
Well, it is that, and then the fact since through June and in the middle of July we will be doing our story, our summer reading program. We may just kind of maybe kick in a couple of fun days or something for the kids.
Okay. And director's report.
I don't think I really have anything to add. I want to thank Lenny for taking his Saturday and attending the planning session that we had with the city. I personally found it very helpful for me to understand issues that the city is looking at and how the budgeting and everything that they actually are doing. There are ongoing projects that are on schedule, such as the street projects and everything like that, that they are very much on schedule. It's just that they can't get all the streets done at one time, so of course people are not going to be happy because their streets are not the one being done. But I think the city has spent the extra tax dollars they have very wisely, and I appreciate the support that they have given the library, because they have been very supportive. So.
Okay. Did you have a comment in the comment section?
Well, I found it, the session's interesting. I've always been curious as how city council members and the mayor and stuff can keep on top of all the stuff that goes on. And I was fortunate that Kelly was in my group, and I tried to explain that to him, and he said that they rely very heavily, like you would have had a superintendent on their department heads to keep things under control and to bring information and stuff, because, you know, sometimes I come from a perspective that I saw school board members 2 days before a board meeting with packets, 4 inches thick, and they were expected to read all this and be ready for that meeting. And of course they didn't do it. And Steve has shown, even in these meetings, that he's able to stay on top and have information coming and going, because I would get confused with all of that information coming and going. The group I was in, a member of the cemetery board was there, and we discussed the equipment conditions of how they, at one time, they were borrowing equipment from one department to another, and how, so this was delaying certain things getting done, and one of our ideas was to get each department the equipment they need to do the job they need to do. It was interesting. I thought it was worth it.
Good. I'm glad somebody from your board could go. Like it been planned for me otherwise.
Well, and for those of you kind of, what it was, is the format was that it was broken into groups. And so it wasn't like we were listening to people, talk to us. It was actually like we were given something and we were supposed to identify in each group what we thought were the 3 most important priorities for the year for the city. And then every group told their top 3, and so you had 12. And then out of those 12, as a group, we picked 3 that we thought the city should focus on.
Those were 7 different categories.
Right. And and it was very interesting because for the most part, everybody was kind of in agreement. You know, there were certain areas that other people, of course, if we were in a certain department, we thought certain things should be. But it was a very productive way of doing things. In fact, I came back to my staff and said, I would like for us to, here as a staff, it would be different because we would have to be a committee of one and then come together with all of our ideas as far as some goals for us here, and try to see how that works. So I thought it was a very effective way of looking at some issues.
I will mention to you, just down the block here, the building next door to the Senior Citizen Center that has caused them so much problem. The city has issued a demolition permit for that, and demolition on that structure will begin probably within a couple of weeks.
Do they know if there are cracks in there?
We don't know what all is in there. Your OG&E will come and disconnect service lines and some things, and then the demolition will get underway. There is a chance that part of the facade of the building could stay, but they're going to start work on cleaning that building and getting rid of that nuisance in the center.
Then where would the pigeons go?
We don't wanna know what's in there.
Won't they try to find another habitat?
But of course.
I'm sure they will, and they will find
They
another
will find
habitat.
another. Yep.
Put on the roof of your house.
This building has caused a number of problems,
It's
and
been
it's a
terrible.
health
Yeah, I
and
was
safety.
going to say it's a health
It's a
issue.
health and safety issue, and we, of course, we finally have worked successfully with the property owners to get a remedy to that situation.
Is it totally at the city's expense then?
No,
Hooray.
Is it the property owner's expense?
they will be doing the bulk of the work.
Have they agreed to that?
Yes,
Yay.
they're the ones that applied for the demolition permit and get the city granted.
The city jumped on that one with both feet.
Yeah, that was fast track.
So what's gonna happen then, we'll just have another empty space then, right?
Yeah,
So
but
it'll be
better than
like
what was
like a
there.
missing tooth in a mouth or something,
It'll be another pocket
David?
park.
We would welcome you investing your money and
I
putting in a new
a little
building there.
park in there would be really nice.
After what it took to get this park going, this is,
I was thinking
wow.
about that, you know, there was, when I was heading to Northwest Electric the other day down there in the square. But I think next to it, they cleaned that up and they fixed it all up, and it was supposed to become something, but nothing ever happened.
Isn't that Darlene Holmes Falls lot?
It's
Yes.
private. It's private.
It's private property.
It's private property.
She still owns it and adamantly
And there's a
refuses.
building at the back
I
of
mean, I guess
that.
it doesn't make much sense to try to grow grass or put some benches in there, I don't think I
Well, I don't think she exactly wants people, it's private property, and I don't think she wants people
But just
in
a
there
big
exactly.
empty space there,
In
right
that,
in the
I think she
square.
thinks it's a liability.
Well, I mean, that would be a liability issue definitely for her with it being the private
I'd
property.
like to see anything
Mm-hmm.
like
That's kind of a neat area in there.
I like Elaine Schnabel's idea of putting in a little kiosk back there. She always called it a beer garden.
I know, the beer garden would be great.
Can't do it.
I think
No,
I'll
but
start.
Wouldn't it be cute?
Who wants to drink beer with me there?
And then if fire comes, we have, you know,
Yeah.
I'm glad we got the,
Well, maybe the senior
place for
citizens will want that
70.
property and will do something to it. I was surprised at the sale price of the property it had on the west side of the square. Judging by the condition
So was I.
that went in there, I was a little eye opener when I walked in to begin with, and then at the price, my eyes opened even wider. Okay. Does anybody have a clue what's going to happen to that?
No.
Darn. Okay. All right. Anybody else have a comment? Okay. I declare us adjourned then. Thank you for coming.